Hello, marhaba, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the podcast by Chalhoub Group. I'm your host, Lynn AlKhatib, the VP of Communication at Chalhoub Group. Today we will dive into the intricate world of internal communication. And as per any topic on my podcast, it's not just dear to my heart, it's in my heart. Internal communication has really been my baby from day one in my career in corporate communication. It's the world where employees are empowered, engaged, informed, where they perform at their best, and where organizations really thrive and have a positive reputation if done right. And hopefully it's done right. Research says, and McKinsey research says, that 20 to 25% increased employee productivity takes place when they are engaged. So it's not only about engagement, but there are so many other data and ways and tools that we achieve successful internal communications. And guess what? I'm not the guest of this, even though I love communication. I have my one and only Senior Manager of Internal Communication, who's in my team, also being my guest, Rasha Nashashibi, to tell us all about internal communication at Chalhoub Group, but more so some of the exciting things that we are launching to take it to the next level. Hi, Rasha.
Hello.
It's very fun and strange in a way to have you on the podcast, but it's great. And I love that we're having this conversation now.
I agree. Thank you for having me.
So Rasha, in your journey, I think we've been 3 years together in corporate communication and group communication. We've taken internal communication to different levels and multiple milestones within the organization. This 20 to 25% more productive employees and this kind of engagement, maybe profitability, what makes it so important to have good internal communication in organizations?
So, Lynn, how you rightfully mentioned in your intro, a productive employees mean that they are empowered, like you said, they are connected. This is the most important thing. When they are part of a larger community and a larger purpose, they feel like they are, not just numbers, they are actually working towards a common purpose. So with internal communications, what we do is really bridge the gap between the business and the people. And so we are like the middle people between the two, and we make it understandable and accessible to everyone within the group. So this is what I mean. This is, I think, the most important thing of internal communications.
It's interesting. When I first took internal communication, it was the first job I really got in corporate communication. And at that time, it was a role which was literally sending emails about babies being born. And we certainly send an email about babies being born. But I think it was really a very just announcement kind of email-based. Where do you think internal comms falls today within the organization itself, with the management, the executive committee?
So I think there's also a big difference between people communications and internal communications. So I joined the group with people communications, and that is purely focused on more of the HR initiatives, more of people engagement. The difference between people communications and internal communications is because you have the added layer of the business involvement. So anything that basically, any communication that aligns with the business objectives, your group priorities, this is where kind of they both, coincide and work together to.
When we were just before preparing for the podcast and starting the recording, we were talking about the countdown of one of the tools that we have, which is a live conferencing tool that brings everyone from all over the world connected in one event. And yesterday, literally before the shoot, we had a live with all the XCOM. So this is powered by a tool, a conferencing tool. Take me through what is the balance between tools, tech, events, and things that are needed for successful internal communication?
So honestly, tech is the backbone of internal communications because that is the way we communicate and we are able to get to our audience. So we use multiple tools. soon to be one consolidated tool for everything. But I think the main focus is, like you said, we do have an external conferencing tool, or an external technical conferencing tool that we use. It's similar to Teams, because obviously Teams is more of a day-to-day, but this is a lot more helpful because it allows for a lot more engagement. And of course, you need the engagement to be able to connect with the employees, so they are also inspired to talk, to converse, to chat with each other during conferencing. We also have our internal channels. Currently, we have an employee app and an intranet, which I'm very happy to say that we are consolidating in one platform with our colleagues in digital HR as well. It's a big collaboration, and it's basically bringing the best of everything into one place. So not only do you have your standard, announcements and newsletters going out, but there's a lot of engaging features as well, such as going live, like Instagram, for example. You can do blogs, you can do shout outs, you can also do polls. And, there's a lot of features there that really encourage and engage people to connect with each other, because a big challenge that we have now is basically bringing together our store consultants or a distribution team or a fulfillment team, talking to our leaders or talking to the back office. So this tool is really going to enable them to start the conversation and to bridge that gap between the two.
So, Rasha, I'm not going to tell you my age, but I really started internal com very, very, very young. And it was very much offline. It was very much print and analog. And I used to have every 2 months a printed newspaper kind of newsletter, a lot of on-ground events. And we've started accelerating, I think, before COVID to going online. And now it's important, non-negotiable. So take me through the journey of how employees at our group get in touch with internal communication throughout the year.
Yeah, so you mentioned print. When I joined the group, I actually sent out the first digital newsletter, which was 5 years ago. So at that point, it was a quarterly newsletter. It was a lot more very high level, very focused. But what we do now, and shout out to my team for this one, is we send a daily newsletter, because there is so much going on at the group that really, and it's full every day. We have 8 to 9 articles every day. It's very important. We have brand news, people news, sustainability news. All of our pillars are covered in this daily newsletter. But not only that, we also do on-ground events, in-person events like the leadership conference, like the group seminar. We also support, obviously, in a lot of vertical town halls. Internal communications is not just about sharing news. It's also about enabling and connecting, breaking the silos, making sure that everyone knows what's really going on within the group.
And lately, more and more social first tools are coming in place. And I know there are so many different providers. And you did mention that there's a new tool that will enable kind of all-in-one platform. Yeah. First of all, tell me why this is important and what features will it bring to the organization?
So this is important. This all-in-one kind of platform is important because you only have a certain period of time to really connect with your audience, right? Especially now with the Gen Zs, and the time span of their focus is very limited. So with a social first platform, you're able to log on, you're able to scroll, you're able to post very quickly, you're able to share a quick blog, or especially when it's AI generated, for example, which we will have that capability on this new platform. You're able to just send a quick shout out, recognize your team member, just at a click of a button, and it's right in your hands. Even if, for example, you want to share someone in the stores had a really great sale or a really great experience with their customer, and they want to share that news, and it's right on the spot. This is where you go. You go to that social first platform. But also at the same time, this platform is not only that, it's everything to do with the group. So you go in, all of your HR services are also, enabled in this one place. So you can go do your leaves, you can ask for your salary certificate, whatever it is, your learning and development, everything is right there at your fingertips. So the accessibility of it, the ease of use of it is really what's driving this whole project for me, at least for the past 2 years, I might add. So
it is a lot of work to combine that kind of intranet functionality with the digital HR, with the social first, and it's really important. So the title of our podcast episode is "But First Internal." And it's something we say over and over and over. And of course, that tool is to enable that. Mm-hmm. We do see a lot of people and leaders excited to share externally, directly on their personal platforms, things they're doing with their teams. So on this new tool, our ask and call to action or aspiration is to have first internal, then external. Tell me why and tell me how are you enabling this?
So we are enabling this because we want to encourage a culture of thought leadership. Like, really, the most important thing is to make sure people feel empowered to really share their own news, not only their own news, but also industry news, new statistics, for example, new reports and things like that. And you do that through employee advocacy. So this actually, employee advocacy kicked off this whole project for us, like I said, 2 years ago, and we realized it's actually a much bigger scope. It's not just, clicking share on an article and sending it to your LinkedIn. It's a lot more. It's you actually creating the content, the community creating the content, representing the group, understanding what's happening within the industry, what trends are going on, what is, the next big thing, getting that information, posting it, sharing it with your colleagues internally, and then you go out. You go out to the world and you say, hey, this is what we do, this is what I know, and this is how the group is enabling me or supporting me to innovate and create and to do. And these are the objectives, for example, that are also supporting us into building that advocacy or building that, thought leadership in the back end.
So with your experience to date, and I know you've engaged with some employees who are happy and already active and they want to be advocates, what's in it for them to do that, and how do they feel about it?
Honestly, the first response was like, oh my God, we're so excited. What is this? What can we expect? What can we do? So what really they can expect and why employee advocacy is because it really builds their credibility. It really makes them understand or helps us understand as peers and as colleagues what is really happening within the group. What are they doing specifically in their roles, in their day-to-day that, supports the business. It builds their credibility. It makes them, part of the bigger conversation. And of course, there's the added plus of building their own personal brand at the end of the day. Once you're more credible and once you understand, it's really just builds your sense of ownership and a bigger belonging to the group. There's a statistic, and this is why I'm reading it. 45% of consumers buy from a company that is advocated by an employee. So obviously with us in retail, this is big because that means you're building trust. That means your people are really representing who you are and what you do as a group. It represents your purpose. And also obviously the added plus is that you increase your sales and blah, 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 because the trust is there,
Yeah. No, it's thought leadership is a very hot topic these days, and everyone, particularly when they come to me for coaching or support, it's all about thought leadership, personal branding. How can I position myself? What do I say? What don't I say? And I think it's nice to see that internally people are supported as well. So yes, it's obvious with media trainings and spokespeople training, a select approved group gets specifically more a focused training to represent the group, but that thought leadership becomes scaled, upscaled. What is it called? It's scaled up.
Upskilled.
So upskilled, scale up that thought leadership aspect where more people can really explore topics that they stand for. They can have access to content and help them build that, even if they are not, let's say, an approved spokesperson who can do media interviews and things like that. So either it's really empowering. And I know from past experience, it is indeed something quite empowering to have at an organization. So Rasha, this is your biggest first baby, the new platform launch, which is due
just a month after my second baby.
So tell us more on your real baby that we're all expecting, and how are you handling that transition for yourself?
That's a big question. I don't know. Honestly, I think, well, first of all, I just have to say I have so much more appreciation for women. And to add on a layer, I don't want to give the label of working moms, but really working moms. Wow. Because it's very difficult to, now I'm pregnant and I'm going through it. It's one thing to be pregnant and working, but another thing to be able to manage and be responsible and, manage your schedule at work and at home and to do all this. And, I think there's a lot that I'm going to learn. And I have obviously a lot of people around me that are, guiding me and helping me navigate this journey so far. But it has, I won't say it's been easy, but it's also been very empowering knowing that, I am growing a life, but I'm also still able to work and work hard. And if anything, I've been working a lot harder during my pregnancy, knowing that, I am going to have some time off after, not really off from work, I should say. It's not off.
It's not a vacation.
Yeah, it's not a vacation. But it's empowering, honestly, at the end of the day. And my appreciation just grows day and day. So, yeah, it's been quite a journey, I think. But it's gone by fast, so...
Fast? For us, it was fast, but I don't know. We can generalize for you.
Yeah.
So our producer insists for the rapid fire questions. We cannot skip them. If you could only communicate using one emoji for the rest of your career, which emoji would that be and why?
This is so difficult because I'm so animated. So it's very tough to find one emoji. But I think something that would encompass all of my emotions would be the white heart.
Oh.
That's my answer.
Can you share a funny or memorable moment you've experienced while working on internal communication or event?
Most memorable is each seminar. Honestly, that the end when you close and everyone is cheering and we're all so happy as a team, we feel like we've accomplished something, that feeling is unbeatable, honestly.
What's your favorite internal newsletter piece? Oh my God, you're going to get many people upset now.
How can I be unbiased with this?
Staff sale.
That's a good one, actually. Honestly, I think it's been this year's Mother's Day and Father's Day campaigns because they're so personal. They really show who we are as humans, and it's emotional,
Shout out to our social and digital media team behind the cameras,
absolutely.
Behind the scene. If you were a superhero fighting for better internal communication, what would your superpower be?
Connection.
Seriously. And literally, connections.
Yeah, literally, connections or connection in general, whether it's person-to-person connection. Also, I mentioned this technological connection, but really it's just building the relationships and making sure that people feel heard and aware of what's happening.
When you do internal communication, what do you prefer more, to do a leadership conference or group seminar?
Seminar for sure.
When you are doing a live broadcast, what is your biggest concern when you do a live show?
Connectivity and tech.
Tech is the backbone, but also breaks the back.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it or break it.
Because we can control everything. As you can have the plan, you can have the speakers briefed, you can do everything you need, but you have no control over tech at all. Like, what if the Wi-Fi just, decides to disconnect? It's not really in your hands. No matter what you do, you increase the bandwidth. It's not in your hands.
A lot of times for internal communications, the work is behind the scene. It's unless you're live in front of the camera, literally presenting everything. It's a lot of behind the scenes work to support others in their like town halls or events or speeches or all of that. How do you motivate yourself and your team to define success for you?
That's a tough one. That's not really rapid fire, Lynn.
That's slow fire
burning.
That's
a slow burning fire. But to go back to the question, how do I motivate my team? Honestly, my biggest learning is to give them the space and the trust and have them really own what they're doing and let them give the room to make mistakes. Because again, we can prepare and I can brief and I can support and we can do everything. But at the end of the day, an event, there's always something, for example, bound to happen. It cannot be perfect no matter what you do. And this is what I also try to tell my team, is that we can do our best. We can do everything by the book. We can brief. We can connect with our stakeholders. We can do the pre-work and send the communications and make sure everyone registers. But there's always room for improvement. And I think this is the most important thing that I would like to enable or empower my team with. So always be ready for improvement, empowerment, preparation. Our listeners are diverse, so they're either, people interested to join the group, people in communication, people in universities studying communication. What would be one top advice for characteristics for someone who could think of, maybe internal communication is for me, the top two, and the top two things that you would encourage organizations or even smaller companies or startups to have internal communication? Like, what's the top two advice for them? So the top two for someone that wants to get into internal communications, be open. That's very important because there's a lot that goes on under internal communications, and you have to be open and be curious. So if you are not really ready to get down and dirty with what's happening in any which way, whether it's just, written communications, event communications, then this might not be the right field for you. But number two is also be willing to connect with people, build those relationships. You have to really want to be human. You have to be human at the end of the day, especially with internal communications. Like, for me, people, it's like my first thing when I think about it. Like you said, we have a diverse audience. We have a diverse workforce in the group. So I have to put myself in the shoes of the store consultant in Khubar, for example, in Saudi, or the distribution or the last mile fulfillment center here in the UAE. I have to put myself in their shoes to be able to say, okay, is what I'm thinking or what I'm, communicating outwards, is it right for them? Is that why, is this why we are doing what we're doing, for them to be able to be enabled to deliver at the end of the day? So be open, be curious, and be human. Those are my top three for sure. For a group or a small organization or whatever it is that doesn't have internal communications, y'all are a bit late. But it's really, really, really important, because you need to connect with your people. If you don't connect with your people, then everything that you're doing in terms of running the business or wanting to get those numbers or hitting the targets, whatever it is, it's not going to be there if your team members are not informed of what's going on, if they're not connected, if they don't feel like they can come talk to the leaders, for example. So
the advice is do it
Do it
and
ASAP.
with any resource that you have.
Yeah, yesterday, do it. And you can always start small. Even with, like you said, you start with a small email just to say, hey, here's a quick update. This is what internal communications is. This is the transparency that you want to build within the organization, that trust that you want to build within an organization. You know, keep them informed, keep them engaged, keep them connected. And it'll go a long way.
Yeah. Well, we can talk forever
Yeah,
about
I know,
internal
I love
communication. Love the passion. Best of luck with baby Samo.
Thank
and
you.
with the new internal platform. We're
you
going to
very
make you
much.
proud in your absence when we launch it.
I know you will.
And thank you all for joining us, for always listening. Please give us your feedback. And if ever you're thinking of corporate communication or communication, think internal first and then external. Thank you for joining.